for a very special, oh God. Can you hear that, Cody? Hold on a second. I gotta get the volume on this. I don't know where the volume. Okay, everybody, we're going to do this again in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to The Sweat, a special edition of The Sweat here in the pod studio. I am your host, Emerson Lotzia, but this today, ladies and gentlemen, is The Sweat, a Geoff Ulrich special presented by DraftKings. Geoff Ulrich, not on just one, not two, not three, but all 4 segments in this show. He's going to be dropping his usual knowledge about the NFL. He's going to be dropping his usual knowledge about hockey, but also today, ladies and gentlemen, as guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution, we can watch a sport for 8 minutes and declare ourselves experts in said sport. So Geoff is also going to help us out with NBA All-Star DFS and Sportsbook bets, and most importantly, versus Pierce, baby, on the track talking Daytona 500. But I want to start in the NFL, dudes. You guys are going to square off there. Geoff, thank you so much today for putting this entire company on your back like JanSport. Are you feeling the pressure?
I mean, look, this is all just anticlimactic until we get to the NASCAR segment. Pierce has tried to throw in some last-minute wrenches into my plans, into my research.
I tried to help.
It can't be out-researched, Pierce. I've stayed up all night. You're going to get destroyed, and I'm going to give the people some good picks there. But yes, let's talk about the coaching, because I got some good takes here coming up, and we're starting with Jacksonville.
Yeah, we are. America's team. We are putting a DraftKings spin on what's cooking around the NFL here, guys, talking all the new head coaching hires and the impacts it's going to have. So yes, let's start with America's team. Geoff, you have Dougie P now leading the way. He is a former Super Bowl winner. We all know that. How do you think, or who do you think will benefit the most from this in terms of fantasy?
It's Trevor Lawrence, man. I mean, look, what does Doug Peterson do? What did Doug Peterson do in his previous NFL life? He was a quarterback. He helps quarterbacks. Carson Wentz, 16 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, into a year with 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions under Doug Peterson. He made Nick Foles look like Joe Montana in the playoffs. He helped Jalen Hurts hit the ground running. Look, Doug Peterson will play into Trevor Lawrence's strengths. I think this is a very good hire for a team that has a young quarterback with with a big skill set. I think you'll see a little bit more designed running for Trevor Lawrence next year, and I think you'll see the better utilization of players like Laviska Shenault and DJ Chark over the middle. Let's not forget, Alshon Jeffrey was very productive as a big receiver in that Philly offense. I think it could also help Travis Etienne. Let's not forget, Darren Sproles caught 50 passes. Well, he was like 35 under Doug Peterson. So I would look for whoever is starting at running back. It's probably going to be Etienne if he comes back healthy under Peterson. But I think this helps Trevor Lawrence a lot. I think you'll see him become more efficient. And I think you'll see just a better, well-designed offense around a quarterback with various skill sets.
Okay, maybe James Peterson will be used properly. Pierce, DJ Chark is there as well.
Not to be pedantic, but if we're talking about sports being a guaranteed right, I would say probably the Declaration of Independence would have been a better document to reference. But anyway.
Oh, Trevor my God, Lawrence, book guy, be quiet and just answer the question.
Trevor Lawrence is kind of the cop-out answer, but it's the best answer. If any of the players perform well, then it's all going to benefit Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, you have a quarterback-minded head coach, but it's year 2 for a young quarterback. He's going to develop. Hopefully they spend that first-round pick on getting an offensive lineman that will protect him. And if Robinson has a good season in the backfield, that's going to take some of the pressure off. That's going to get more guys in the box, having to stop the run. That's going to open up receivers, and that should benefit Lawrence. As far as the receiving core, we don't even really know what this receiving core is going to look like, what the turnover will be. I'm not a big DJ Chark guy just because I get tired of hearing DJ Chark song over and over and over.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, someday you might find out what happens when you have a young child at home.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have 2 daughters, buddy. 2 daughters.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm sure you're familiar with that. They love DJ Chark. Anyway, look, I don't think this team's going to be consistent. They're going to have big games. If anything goes well for them, it's going to be that it goes poorly for them, and they're constantly playing from behind, and Lawrence is passing more, and they get fantasy points that way. But I don't have much faith in them taking a big step forward consistently.
I bet you're punching air, Pierce, the fact that the Jags have better odds to win it than your Lions.
That's crazy.
Pierce is just salivating over the Lions with the value that he's getting with the Lions right now. He's just, he's finding extra coins under his couch. He's probably cashing in all his Bort coin right now. Like Bortles, early investment in that. So, yeah, very exciting for the Lions next year. Can't wait.
Pierce, let's go to Chicago here. How will the hire of defensive-minded Matt Eberflus impact Justin Fields' potential, like in your mind?
This is the biggest deal out of nothing. This idea that the head coach, if they're defensive minded or offensive minded, sways the team one way or the other. We've learned this lesson plenty of times before. The biggest example, and it's a huge sample size, is Brian Billick for the Ravens. Supposedly was one of the greatest offensive minds over the last 3 decades. And what did he do at Baltimore? He had one of the worst offenses every single season. He won Super Bowls through defense, but he was supposed to be an offensive guy. A head coach is a managerial position. They just make sure that the personnel are doing their jobs, morale is high, the team is motivated. They're not the innovators. They're not the creators. That's up to the coordinators. And what Justin Fields doesn't necessarily need is a coordinator or another coach. He needs an offensive line. The Bears have needed an offensive line for several years. Ask Mitch Trubisky. Ask Andy Dalton. It's not the coaching. It's the line. And, oh, by the way, they could also use some receivers too. Allen Robinson, not quite what he used to be. Darnell Mooney, not really the most dependable wide receiver. He doesn't have any weapons. He doesn't have a line. I don't care who the coach is.
All right, well, he did hire Packers passing game coordinator Luke Getsy to be his offensive coordinator, Geoff. So kind of familiar there with the division. But what does the offense need to look like for him to be successful?
So this will be probably the one thing we agree with Pierce and I on this one. I think that hiring offensive-minded coaches is actually starting to become like a very negative thing for your team. These coaches design their offenses, and they want the players to run their offenses for them. Matt Nagy was that guy. He was so adamant about having the right personnel to run his offense. He went out and got Andy Dalton and started him over Justin Fields. I love this hire of Matt Eberflus. I don't know how you pronounce it. Eberflus.
Yeah, it's Eberflus, I think.
This guy has said the exact right things. And you know what? You can just tell he has common sense. It's much like Brandon Staley in the Chargers. He had the common sense. I have Justin Herbert. I'm going to throw it 40 times a game. And that's what they did. And Matt Eberflus sounds like he's going to do the same thing. He says he wants chunk plays. Explosive athletic ability is the traits we're looking for, he says. That equals chunk plays on offense. You can't stop that on the opposing defense. If you have chunk plays, he says, I want to build my offense around Justin Fields. Look, he didn't hire Luke Getsy to do this fancy offensive coordinator thing where we're just going to pick and choose our quarterback. He hired Luke Getsy because this is a dude getting his first shot, and he's going to design the offense around the quarterback for Matt Eberflus. I don't know. I'm sorry. But look, I think this is a very positive hire for Justin Fields, and I'd be very excited if I was a Chicago Bear fan. He had a very, very efficient, good, scrappy defense in the Colts, and I think he's got the right mind. He's got common sense, which is like Pierce alluded to. That's what you need as a head coach. You're a manager. You're not the guy who designs all the plays and then tries to fit square pegs in round holes.
Yeah, and Getsy, like some say, oh, you could have stuck around Green Bay. You could have taken over the offensive coordinator position where Nathaniel Hackett left, and now he's leading the way in Denver. But we all know, like, Nathaniel Hackett wasn't even calling plays out there. That was Matt LaFleur, and now Hackett is leading the way in Denver, guys. Denver has the 4th best odds to win the AFC. Why do these feel too short, Geoff, for a team with its current quarterback one named Drew Lock?
Yeah, this is a great example of the exact opposite, of what we're talking about. Okay, we hired the fancy offensive coordinator from Green Bay. Like you said, he wasn't even calling plays. And now you're basically just diving in on the Broncos because there's a slight connection with Aaron Rodgers. The heavy connection with Aaron Rodgers in Denver was Shailene Woodley, and she's out of the picture as far as we know. So no, I don't like this at all. This is an offensive coordinator who's been built up by a solid Packers team that's been run by LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers, and a budding defense over the last couple of years. And Nathaniel Hackett has just been like the guy just kind of riding shotgun, sitting in the back seat, looking out the window. I'm sure he's a great offensive play caller, but there's nothing here to say this is going to work out or this is going a great hire. Well, this is just a complete wait and see. And there's no way you should be diving in on the Broncos and anything on the AFC odds right now.
Okay, Pierce, how much of this do you think is the chatter that Aaron Rodgers can make his way out there? The fact that Denver has the fourth best odds in the conference?
This is getting a little this coaching connection thing. We're drawing, connections to Rodgers once played for this guy. Now he's here. We're getting into Pepe Sylvie territory. I don't really like it. And I'm afraid that we're going to keep doing this for another week. I'm pretty sure Rodgers is staying put. He's not going anywhere. The Broncos are also going nowhere. Not with that team, not with that roster, not in that division. How are they? Even if they had Rodgers, they're still going to struggle with the Chiefs. The Chargers are getting better. I think the arrow is pointing upward for the Chargers. The sky's the limit. They might overcome the Chiefs as well. The Raiders dealt with all kinds of obstacles last season, all kinds of adversity, and they still made the playoffs. Where does that leave the Broncos? The Broncos with this roster, it's not happening. I look forward to another week of will Aaron Rodgers sign with the Broncos. It's going to be great.
All right, guys, we'll wrap up this NFL segment with this. Giants fans are obviously hoping that Brian Daboll can have success right in New York with Daniel Jones, the same kind of success that he had back in Buffalo with Josh Allen. How soon, Pierce, could you see that happening? And maybe some wide receivers could benefit from that. That whole team was so banged up on offense last year.
Yeah, but who's to say they're going to be healthy again this year?
True.
They got injured over and over last season. Why would all of a sudden they would be healthy this season? And that's Jones included. We played Daniel Jones a lot last season based on his rushing talent, but we never really were excited about his passing. We were never really excited about his receivers. We were never excited about his offensive line. We just thought that in a certain game script, he could run for yards and he could hit value. We didn't expect them to win games at all. And then I think we're making a little bit too much out of the offensive coordinator. We think that the offensive coordinator made Josh Allen a good quarterback. Well, what if it's the other way around, that Josh Allen made the offensive coordinator in Buffalo who he is? And I think that's probably the case. If you look at the Buffalo offense, if that offense was so great, why couldn't they run the ball? If we're going to say, how does this guy get a job? As an offensive coordinator, you have two jobs: pass the ball, run the ball. He couldn't even run the ball, so he was able to do one of his jobs. If that was a problem in Buffalo, I imagine it's probably going to be a problem in New York as well.
Hey, Geoff, could you see Daniel Jones taking a similar leap as Josh Allen?
No.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Are you kidding? People compare Daniel Jones to Josh Allen. I mean, I don't want to say they don't watch the games, but we're talking about two entirely different players. The only thing they have a little bit in common is they both have decent speed. But I mean, Josh Allen is essentially a Christian Okoye running outside the pocket, whereas Daniel Jones, sure, he gets a little treadway, he can outrun a couple people, but no, I mean, Daniel Jones has shown I like his release. He gets rid of the ball quickly. He also makes some really poor decisions, and like Pierce mentioned, he just gets hit too much. Is Brian Daboll gonna just reinvent the offensive line? That's the bigger issue here. We talk about things that the Giants need. I mean, that offensive line is not going to keep Daniel Jones upright. I don't care who the coach is or who the offensive coordinator is. There's already controversy around this hire too, just with the Brian Flores stuff. This is just pure Giants in terms of how this has gone. It's already off to a negative spin. You've got another offensive coordinator hire who's hired for a couple being connected to a group of good players like Pierce alluded to in Josh Allen, and now he's getting hyped up. Again, I mean, I think I actually prefer the Nathaniel Hackett hire in Denver over the Daboll one. At least Hackett was producing some very consistent offenses, like Pierce alluded to. The Bills had one good offensive year under Daboll. I just don't see this one working out, quite frankly.
All right, Pierce, need you to go take a breather. Go hydrate, please. Study up on your Daytona Speed Week because Geoff is coming for your NASCAR analyst crown. That's going to be a fantastic way to wrap up the show. But next, we'll be talking hockey with Paul and Geoff as the Sweat, a Geoff Ulrich special, continues right after this. All right, we are back to talking sticky puck now. It's DraftKings contributor Geoff Ulrich and RotoWire's Paul Bruno. Paul, after what Toronto did to Pittsburgh last night, it's no surprise that AJ has decided to no-show today.
Well, there's more to it than that, Emerson. He made the wrong move of messing with the wrong cowboy. We had a bet on, and it's kind of like the old wrestling days where the winner stays, but the loser leaves town. So you won't be seeing AJ for a little while until I lift that self-imposed suspension. So lesson to all, stick with the stats, man. And we got the A team going today with me and Jeffrey.
I love it. Yeah, so let's get your favorite DFS and Sportsbook picks for tonight's four-game slate. Paul, who's the best top price play in DFS?
Well, we're not talking about some of the bigger names that we talked about earlier this week, so it might come as a surprise that topping my list is Joe Pavelski, $7,700 for the veteran. He's on a tear, and he just showed off a little bit more of that skill at the All-Star game, but the guy's got 39 shots on goal and 11 points in his last 10 games, a tasty matchup against Chicago in what should be a high-scoring tilt. Jack Eichel and company were blanked their last time out, his first game of the season. I don't think that's happening again tonight. I think the Kings are in trouble tonight as Vegas rolls them, I think. Eichel, $7,400 there. And Alexander Barkov, for my money, one of the more underrated of the top players in the game, I would suggest. $7,200 his price tag, 38 shots on goal, 13 points in his last 10 games. For me, my money, he's one of the best players in the league, and he has a good matchup tonight in Minnesota.
Geoff, who are you paying up for?
Yeah, I really want to focus on that Minnesota-Florida game as well. I mean, it's got like a 6.5 goal total, and it's trending towards it's minus 135 or something to go on the over there. So, I mean, we're expecting a lot of goals. That might be like the biggest goal total we've had all year, to be honest, between the Panthers and Wild. I love Barkov as well. He's been really producing. He's only 7,200. And like Paul alluded to, on this slate, there's not many big names to pay up for. He's got 13 points, averaging 3.8 shots on goal over his last 10 games. He's got points in 6 straight games here. The Wild are fine, but it's not like they have a brick wall and net either. They're certainly capable of getting in shootouts. So I don't mind targeting both top lines in that game. I think you can get good value with guys like Matt Zuccarello, but I think Barkov, for my money, is really where I want to pay up tonight. Again, I mean, they have the biggest implied goal total on the slate. And I really do think this might actually be, without actually having checked, the biggest goal total we've had all year. So,
all right, Geoff, what about value? Hook us up with some value in DFS.
Yeah, so I mean, again, like you can certainly go to guys like Zuccarello. He's 6K, but if we want to get a little bit cheaper, I mean, I like Evgeny Dandanoff, the Vegas Golden Knights versus the Kings. Paul kind of alluded to this. Like the Vegas Golden Knights probably aren't going to get shut out again. The Kings have actually been pretty poor defensively too over their last 5 or 6 games. This isn't a team that's really like stopped the puck much at all lately. Dandanoff playing in the top 6. He's been getting lots of opportunities, and look, he's not Mark Stone, but he's only 4,200. And when you're shooting the puck like 3 or 4 times on net and you're getting top 6 opportunity, especially on a team like Vegas, eventually the puck is going to go in. So I like taking a shot with him tonight. Again, we got a 4-game slate. And I think Dandanoff is one of those players who, he's been dry lately, but he's just going to show up with a multi-point night sooner or later. He's still very cheap. I like going to him for value.
All right, Paul, who are you going to for value?
I think that's a great call by Geoff. It was one that I had listed as well, so I won't double down on the commentary there. I'll pivot to Dylan Strome for $4,000. He's centering the top line between Patrick Kane and Brendan Hagel, 2 guys that are on the wings for the Hawks have been on fire lately. Dylan Strome's finding his groove too with 10 points in his last 10 games played, so I'll find a way to squeeze him in and balance my roster with his low price tag tonight.
Paul, what's a player prop you like tonight on the DK Sportsbook?
I'm looking at the shots on goal prop tonight, Emerson, for a few of the guys. I take the over on the 3.5 for Philip Forsberg at Carolina. First of all, the guy's got 33 shots on goal in his last 10 games played, so that's right there. But the local officials in the Hurricanes' home rink, they're pretty generous with the shot clock usage. I might even accuse them of padding stats there once in a while. Take Anze Kopitar of Los Angeles, too, at even money to go over 2.5 shots on goal. He's had 36 in his last 10 games, so that should be no problem in what should be a high-event game. And ditto for Dadonov with his first-line assignment that Geoff talked about next to Eichel. That prop says plus 125 when he goes over 2.5 shots on goal. He also has 28 shots in his last 10 games.
Geoff, player prop you like?
Yeah, I like heading to again, I think this Florida game is one you got to focus on. I feel like there's so many good players in that game, just top to bottom offensively, that you're actually getting good value on a guy like Sam Bennett just to score a point. Bennett's minus 105 on the DraftKings Sportsbook. Again, we just need him to score a point. And you look at some of the other odds in that category. You've got guys like Ryan Hartman. Like they all have much lower odds than Bennett, but Bennett's almost a point per game player. He's just gone a couple games without a point. But I mean, again, like we've got the Florida Panthers here. They have the highest implied team total on the slate. Bennett's got 30 points in 38 games at minus 105 just to go over 0.5 points. I really like that one. I think you might actually see this total go over. I've already talked about it, but there's a reason why it's at 6.5 and trending towards 7. You're going to see a lot of goals here. And I think there's a very good chance that Bennett just shows up with at least a point. And you're getting very good odds at minus 105 on him.
So that's clearly the goal total you're looking at, Geoff?
Well, I mean, the thing is with that goal total, I mean, we're at minus 135 to take the over. So I'm not going to bet it at minus 135. You could go on the alternate maybe and like get better odds like 7.5 or 7. But I think that there's a little bit better value to be had. I like going over in the Stars Blackhawks game. The Stars, their first line could hit this on their own, quite frankly. I mean, the Blackhawks have been brutal defensively of late. They just allowed a ton of goals to the Columbus Blue Jackets last night. Like I said, the Dallas Stars have a top 3 line just in terms of goal production. And if you look at the history between these two teams, it's actually a pretty strong trend towards the over. Each of the last 5 times Dallas has played Chicago, the over has hit. So I like that, and I like the fact you're getting plus 100 just to go over 5.5. Again, we've got a way smaller goal total, and we're getting plus odds. Give me the over on Dallas and Chicago tonight.
Yeah, that's the lowest total on this 4-game slate. Paul, where are you going?
Well, clearly we're operating in the Get It Right episode of the week. When I'm on with Geoff, that usually happens, and we're in agreement a lot, and we are in this case too. I'm with him with the call to go over 6.5 on the alternate line. I'm expecting a high-scoring game with Dallas and Chicago there. I also say do the same thing, head to the alternate total in Vegas against Los Angeles, as those clubs will combine for at least 7 goals tonight. I think there's going to be a few high-scoring games on the docket, but those are 2 that I'm focused on.
A puck line or money line bet here that tickles your fancy, Paul?
Yeah, I like Vegas at home, minus 1.5 to roll LA tonight for a plus 145 payout. I see this as a big mismatch. The LA Kings are not keeping anybody under wraps defensively in the last little while, and Vegas is due to explode. And Florida has the most potent offense in the league. We've talked about them ad nauseum, so no surprise that I'm taking them minus 1 for a plus 185 payoff. I'm surprised if that's that high, but I certainly recommend it.
Geoff, what do you think?
Yeah, it's just not really a night where I want to jump on a bunch of underdogs. I mean, the Wild at home plus 110, it's tempting, but I'm going to stay off it as well. I think the best line is the first one that Paul brought up, and that's the Vegas Golden Knights at home minus 170. Look, Max Pacioretty, he's been really slow late. That's not going to last. The Kings can't stop anyone, and the Golden Knights coming off a shutout, like in their last game, like getting shut out. It all just kind of leads to them just probably scoring 4 or 5 goals at home and like winning like 4 or 5-1. It really wouldn't shock me at all. So I think the puck line there at plus 145, if you're looking for some better odds, is fine. But I like just taking the money line straight up at minus 170. Like I think the Golden Knights should be minus 200 here. So you're getting good value at minus 170, even if the odds look shorter.
Hey, Paul, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy taking the victory lap around AJ. Hopefully you allow him to return next week. Geoff, I need you to stick around. We got another double dose of Canadian goodness when you will be opening up your beefy NBA brain to talk All-Star Weekend with Gary and Thorne. This is going to be epic.
Strokes gained hops coming up with the NBA.
Okay, let's do it. Hot takes next. The entire NBA is taking its most talented talents to Cleveland this weekend. That is where all the All-Star festivities will be going down. And we have 2 of our best here to talk about it. Gary and Thorne, the NBA analyst we need. Geoff Ulrich, the NBA analyst we deserve. Who are you looking at for the Rising Stars MVP, Geoff? I really need to know what you think.
I'm going to go with Cade Cunningham of the Detroit Pistons. Look, I mean, this is a player who he's playing with the Pistons, and he's actually had a very big impact on that team. They're pretty much don't win games when Cade Cunningham is out of the lineup. For DFS, if you've been playing him, you know that Cunningham will show up with some big games every now and then. So I think he's a little bit more talented and just a little bit more under the radar than people realize. And I think that Cunningham's a player who, obviously getting out of Detroit for a few days is probably like a good thing. And now he's coming to a national spotlight where he can put on a performance and show up. I think it's a great upside spot for a player who probably has had his upside in DFS just, sort of tapped down by the Pistons being the Pistons. So I'm going to say take a shot with Cade Cunningham in this game. I like Tyrese Halliburton as well, but I'm going to go with Cunningham just because I think he's a little bit under the radar.
Love it. Cade Cunningham of Team Barry. Gary, there are 28 players in this thing. There are 4 teams. It's like this tournament format. Who do you think has a good shot at MVP?
Yeah, if I had to really figure out who I thought was the odds-on favorite or a good betting strategy, I would kind of look at either Cade Cunningham or LaMelo Ball. And one of the big reasons for those 2 specific players is just they're going to play each other in the first round. So one of those 2 guys is getting to play in that second 25-point championship game, because that's really the most difficult aspect of this is who's winning the Rising Stars weird with G League players tournament. So it's really a crapshoot, but I think the archetype of player you're looking for is someone like a Cunningham, someone like a LaMelo, someone who's going to have the ball in their hands, who can operate in transition because these games are all transition, and just who's going to do something cool. I mean, LaMelo Ball might be the coolest player in the NBA in terms of how he can even pass the ball is impressive. So I think, Cade, LaMelo, maybe even someone like Jaylen Green, although we'll get to his NBA championship in a second, but someone who's just toiled in mediocrity all season long. He's going to want a chance to show people he's actually pretty good at basketball.
All right, Gary, what do you think about the 3-point contest? Because unlike last year, this year I feel like it lacks a front runner and like really a fan favorite. It's going to be tough to stop or to top rather, like what Steph Curry did last year, kind of proving once again he's just the best shooter of all time.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really interesting field, and it's reflected in the odds. I mean, they're so tight aside from Karl Anthony Towns. And I don't really think that's a reflection on Towns. It's more just, it's kind of hard for someone who maybe isn't, the most agile guy in the world, doesn't have the quickest release. These contests don't necessarily, bend to his strengths. So that's why he's so far down this list. But it is kind of hard to ignore Luke Kennard. I mean, this is a guy who's shooting 44.8% from three-point range this season. That's the second best qualified mark in the league. And the guy he's trailing is PJ Tucker. And just for kind of, some insight into how different those two numbers actually are, Kennard has only taken 14% of his three-pointers this season from the corner, the easiest three-point shot in the NBA. PJ Tucker is shooting 45% from three. And again, leads the NBA in percentage. 89% of his three-pointers have come from the corner. So I think you're looking for someone who can really thrive from all areas of the court, specifically those wing threes. Those are the ones that really make or break the three-point competition. So I think Kennard, even as the favorite, is pretty enticing. And I would also say that Desmond Payne at plus 600. I mean, just someone who's been really good all season long, can shoot it from anywhere on the court. I think those two guys are where I'm leaning tonight, or on Saturday.
Okay, so Geoff, Karl Anthony Towns here, longest odds to win the three-point contest. Can you tell me, please, he could serve as the poster child here for big men kind of adapting to this modern game.
Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. Nice try, though.
I thought you were an expert.
I
Sorry.
don't know. Karl Anthony Towns, I guess he can chuck it out there. I don't know. If you want to take a shot. I don't know. I think they just put Karl Anthony Towns in this event just to have – it's like kind of like – it's like when they put, they bring the short guy in for the slam dunk. It's just like, oh, yeah, look at this guy. It's so cute. The big guy can shoot the three. No, I think Gary mentioned it's tight at the top. You could probably make a case for all these guys. I'm going to go with Desmond Payne as well. It doesn't quite have the shooting percentage that Luke Kennard does, but I mean, all these guys are kind of within 2%, or a lot of these guys are. You got Patty Mills around the same. Desmond Payne, he doesn't get as much heat up in Memphis. Most people probably don't even know who Desmond Payne is. I think he's coming in with a chip on his shoulder. I think he's got a really nice stroke from what I watched on YouTube last night, Emerson. And look, I mean, if you watch the Dark Knight trilogy, I think Bane is still the most underrated villain of that movie, of those three movies. So all things considered, he's eighth in the odds. It's still plus 600. Yeah, take a shot with Bane.
Like when you bring in Nate Robinson, right, for the slam dunk contest, although he knows how to win it, or like producer Drew just said in my ear, it's like when we bring in Geoff Ulrich to talk NBA and NASCAR. Hey, speaking of the slam dunk winner, come on, Ulrich, who do you like?
Okay, I actually have a good theory for this. So I think it's going to be Jaylen Green. Now I've watched all the dunk tapes of these guys last night in heavy detail. I'm not super impressed. I think Jaylen Green, though, has the most quote-unquote hops. And I think, just from a pure creativity standpoint, he's going to bring the coolest stuff. He's the dude who's he gets to the lane clean. He makes the extra move. These other guys are just straight up, they're thunder dunkers, is what we call them. I don't like it. Like, I think Jaylen Green is the move here. Honestly, I mean, I think that the odds on these guys probably will be pretty tight if we even have odds up. I don't know, but I'm going with Jaylen Green. I'm going to make Jaylen Green my pick. I like what I saw. I don't know. Maybe Gary has a better take. Probably not.
Gary, and do you have a better take than this, man? Last year's dunk contest deserves a mulligan, right? No fans in the arena. It was like three guys, halftime of the All-Star game.
Yeah, it was arguably the worst one.
It was terrible.
It's a list that's growing. The underwhelming dunk contest in the last 20 years. That being said, I will give a quick note that the experience of being in a dunk contest probably helps Obi Toppin. Like, he has some sort of idea what's going to happen on Saturday. I think that can't go understated, but at the same time, this is Jaylen Green's to lose. Jaylen Green is the best dunker of these four guys easily. I mean, as Geoff said, he has the best quote unquote hops. And I think the thing with Green, as I was kind of talking about on the first question, is this is like his NBA championship on Saturday. I mean, think about how his season has gone so far. He has not shot the ball well. He is on arguably the worst team in the NBA. no one's calling him like a bust or anything, but everyone else around him, Cade Cunningham is thriving. Evan Mobley is thriving. Scotty Barnes is thriving. He needs to kind of prove that he's still worthy of being the number 2 pick in the draft. And while, no one's really going to be like, oh, that pick was worth it, he won the slam dunk competition, I think this is the way to get his name back in the good graces of basketball nerds. So I think Jaylen Green's going to take this really seriously.
Look, Gary ain't agreeing with my basketball take. This might be like the pinnacle of my DK Sweat career, so I would like this segment saved and sent to me after.
Okay, that sounds good. We can definitely do that. Howie can help you out. But Green's got the flair. He's got the athleticism. Toppin looked good, though, last year, Garion. I'm reminded here, but couple between-the-leg dunks, had the windmill. Remember he jumped over his father and Julius Randle?
Yeah, no, again, like I'd love to see the odds, and I'm sure DKSB will have them up pretty soon. So if Toppin's like got the 3rd or 4th best odds, I think he's a pretty good bet, because I think Jaylen Green is going to be the favorite. He deserves to be the favorite.
All right, so where are you going for DFS Captain for the All-Star game on Sunday night, Garion?
Okay, so I feel pretty strongly about this one, and it's Darius Garland. Darius Garland is by far the best captain in this game, because from a lineup building perspective, he has the 3rd lowest salary of any player in the All-Star game, despite the fact that, 1, this game is taking place in Cleveland. That matters. It matters to be the All-Star representative for the team that is actually, or in the city that you are actually playing the game in. I know that Jared Allen ended up making this team as like the 70th injury replacement. He's not going to play a ton of minutes. It's Darius Garland who's going to be out there for big stretches. And you go back to the Kevin Durant, LeBron James All-Star draft. Darius Garland was the 4th reserve off the board. Kevin Durant had a visceral negative reaction when LeBron took him. They both wanted this guy on their team because that narrative matters. I think these guys like Darius Garland. I think Darius Garland, just because he is the Cleveland guy, is going to get to play a bunch of minutes in this game. So his price point is way off. I mean, obviously you can take one of the big guys, slot them into captain, and use Garland as a value pick. But if you use Garland in the captain spot, I mean, your lineup flexibility is endless at that point.
Oh, man, I love that strategy. Geoff, do you have something as intelligent as that?
Yeah, totally. So if you're looking at the rosters, and look, I think that like Garion kind of just blew my mind, so I'm still recovering because I barely even knew Darius Garland was in this event. But if you're looking at the rosters, like it seems out of whack. I mean, like the KD lineup has much more opportunity, I think, for the handlers and to just have a big game, because you look at LeBron roster, they're stacked. Curry, James, Antetokounmpo, all these guys are going to be wanting the ball. Like, and it's kind of just one of those scenarios where once the guy gets the ball, he's just going to the hoop. I think Trae Young on Team KD has a very good chance to just be the primary ball handler for that. And there's no defense being played in this. So once he's got the ball, Trae Young is just going to the hoop. And we all know Trae Young doesn't play defense anyways, right, Garion? So it's not like he's going to be wasting himself on that side of the floor anyway. So I think you look at Team KD for your captain for the simple fact that the Team LeBron is just too stacked with ball handlers, with guys who are going to be sharing the load. I think a guy like either Trae Young or Ja Morant, I'll throw it as a secondary pick, are going to really show up with just a monster game here just because of the way the rosters are set out.
All right. Here we go, dudes. Give me which team has the edge to pull out the victory, Geoff.
I mean, it's got to be Team LeBron, doesn't it? Like,
yeah.
I'm just looking through these rosters again. Like, their top 3 players are Curry, Giannis, and LeBron. I mean, like, we go down to Team KD, and they're throwing out Embiid and Trae Young and like Tatum. I mean, sorry, Boston fans. And then on the other side of that, they are the ones who got the hometown guy in Garland, like Garion throw it out. So they're gonna have the dude who like really actually wants to win, the one guy in this game who wants to win on their team. No, I think you go with Team LeBron. It's the easy answer, but it's straightforward. But don't overthink this one.
Well,
just take Team LeBron.
I mean, he's back in Cleveland, and you're onto something here. Like, we know everything he's done in his career, but Gary and his track record, like All-Star Weekend, probably shouldn't be overlooked either. 4-0 as a captain since this format started.
Yeah, he takes this seriously.
Yeah.
And I think, narratives are really all we have when it comes to these kind of games. And it's been a rough year for LeBron. I mean, the Lakers are bad. Let's just be frank. And I think for LeBron, this game is important. And the fact that, we talked about in the last question that Darius Garland is Cleveland's all-star. Yes, because he plays for Cleveland, but Cleveland's all-star is LeBron James. Like, this game is in Cleveland. We can't really overstate how important LeBron is going to make this. And, he just doesn't lose all-star games. And I think for as much as, like, it doesn't really matter who's playing and who's not playing. I mean, you could look at Team LeBron and go, well, Jimmy Butler never cares about all-star games. That's like a wasted roster spot. Maybe Chris Paul isn't at 100% after injuring his thumb a couple nights ago. That's tough. But like Kevin Durant isn't even playing for Team Kevin Durant. That's kind of bad news for Team Kevin Durant. So I'm just going to go with Team LeBron.
All right, guys, quick here for your favorite player for MVP. Are you sticking with your captain, Garion?
No.
Okay.
I will say Garland's going to have a great game, but he's not going to win MVP because LeBron is going to win MVP. For every reason I just laid out, he wants to win MVP in the All-Star game in Cleveland.
Yeah.
He wants to be like, hey, I'm still good. It's not the Lakers. It's Russ's fault, not mine. So LeBron's going to win MVP.
And he could join Kobe Bryant and collect 4 All-Star game MVPs, Geoff.
I can see that happening. I'm going to go with Luka Doncic, though. I just feel like the veterans up top will kind of on Team LeBron. We'll let Luka just have the spotlight. Again, it's kind of more of a young person's game. Luka will probably be out there going nuts like he always does. What a deep roster. I mean, we at last segment until we mentioned Luka was even on Team LeBron. So I'm going to go with him as MVP.
Garion, farewell, my sweet Canadian chinchilla. Geoff, I need you to buckle up, baby, because your time to shine, the cherry on top of the sweat, a Geoff Ulrich special will arrive after this. We are talking Speed Week in Daytona. Pierce comes in. Pierce is not happy with Geoff right now because he feels threatened. We're back after this. All right, as Matt Cody behind the scenes just mentioned, it is time to start your engines, gentlemen. The Daytona 500 is the Super Bowl of NASCAR. Let's go. Let's go. Give me our biggest and best NASCAR experts. Punch them up, Cody. Pierce Dietrich on the left, Geoff Ulrich on the right. Little shake and bake for the people at home as the green flag drops on this incredible weekend. Oh, man. Gentlemen, before we get into Chase or Fade, Pierce looks scared. A friendly reminder that we've got our first NASCAR Millie Maker for the Daytona 500. It's $25 to enter, a cool $1 million to first place. This is awesome. I'm so happy we're doing this. Plus a trip to the DraftKings Tournament of Champions semifinal. But now we Chase or Fade. Kyle Larson, Ulrich, defending series winner, took the pole position for Sunday. His odds on the DK Sportsbook, looking at him now, plus 1,100, 10-2 in DFS. You're chasing or fading this dude. Hook me up.
Kyle Larson? You're going to bet Kyle Larson at plus 900? No, it's the complete fade. Look, I don't care that this dude had some kind of lap speed record or something. This is a complete mutiny waiting to happen. This team, this Hendricks team, or whatever they call themselves, they got 3 racers at the start of this race. You know what happened last year at the Daytona 500, Emerson? Because I researched it last night.
Tell me.
2 guys on the same team got in a crash on the last lap. This is a complete Talladega Nights, John C. Reilly trying to usurp Will Ferrell situation waiting to happen. You can't bet the favorites here. You've got Alex Bowman on the front line too. These guys are going to get in a fight. Who knows what could happen? No, you can fade Kyle Larson. Sorry, I don't care what Pierce says.
Wow, Pierce. I mean, odds are changing as we speak. Hamlin and Larson now co-favorites at plus 900. What do you think? Would you rather chase?
Don't even get me started on Denny Hamlin, by the way.
Okay, all right. I will not. You want to chase Larson maybe on the sports book or DFS or fade both? What do you want to do, Pierce?
You fade both. You don't bet the favorites in Daytona. As ridiculous as Geoff's analysis was there, he's actually probably not too far off in the fact that Daytona is a wreck fest. It's a crazy race. Anything can happen. And if anything can happen, well, then you bet the long shots. You don't bet the guys that are the favorite to win. And then in DFS, the pole sitter, over the last 25 plate races, they have never, not once, has the pole sitter been in the optimal lineup. And this isn't just some random occurrence. It's because the pole sitter cannot score place differential points. He can't move forward. So if he avoids a bunch of wrecks and miraculously survives, he scores 0 place differential points. Whereas the driver that starts 30th, avoids the wrecks, that's 30 place differential points that they will get. That's just the way that the scoring works out. You target the guys in the back. You do not target the guys up front. And you never, never, never target the pole sitter. 0 for 25 in DFS.
Well, Geoff, you just said don't get me started on Denny Hamlin. I've got to do it, though, because producer Drew wants me to ask this question next. You want to chase or fade him? Again, co-favorite, 3-time winner here.
Oh my God, this guy is such a fade. It's unbelievable. I'd rather bet Phil at plus 200 in a Champions Golf event. Emerson, look, this guy's the favorite. Here's his recent form for driving: 15th, 23rd, 3rd. He can't even beat his own teammate, Alex Bowman. I don't know if they're teammates, but look, this dude has been in terrible form, and now we're expected to bet him as the favorite at this prestigious driving event. No, this is a straight fade. Denny Hamlin should be working at Denny's.
Oh, wow, Pierce. Come on, dude. That's like an OBJ-esque take from Geoff.
I guess it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
My OBJ take was pretty good, actually, and based on data, whereas Geoff probably doesn't realize that Denny
It's a
Hamlin...
plate rate, by the way, Pierce. It's a plate race.
Yeah, well, actually, it's not anymore. They don't use plates, but we still call them plate races.
All right.
Hamlin has probably second best career statistics at Daytona and Talladega among any driver. So, his current form at these type of tracks, no one really can compare to him. But that being said, as I mentioned, you don't bet the favorites in this race. He's a good chance of getting a top 5, but if we're betting winners, then I'm just not interested. I would rather take the long shots. DFS-wise, he's starting 30th, so he will be the most popular play. He has success. He has a strategy that has worked out for him in the past. He's very calm and collected, and he'll stay out of harm's way. He'll just stay in the back for most of this race and wait to go late, and then he'll get a top 5 or a top 10 finish. Probably won't help you in the betting markets, but in DFS, he absolutely is going to be the most popular play. He's got the track history, and he's going to get 20 to 30 place differential points just by avoiding the wrecks.
Pierce, Joey Logano here, 4th best odds, plus 1,200 on the DK Sportsbook. I think he's got kind of a decent discount, 9.8 in DFS. I once interviewed his parents like 14 years ago, so I've been a big fan of this kid. What do you think?
I would be a little worried about roster or betting him. You're going to be fine taking him in DFS. He's starting 20th. That's around, 15, 20 place differential points. If Hamlin's the most popular play, then Logano will probably be the second most popular play. He's probably the 3rd best plate racer, if not one of the best, so he has a good chance. The big concern with him is he wrecked on Thursday night. They've had to go to a backup car. Normally, going to a backup car, not really a big deal, but these are not normal times. NASCAR has switched to a next-gen car this season. This Generation 7 model has been built from scratch. Well, it's hard to build cars from scratch when there is a global supply chain issue. So teams barely have one car, let alone a backup car. So there's a really good chance that his backup car is not going to be that great. He'll still be competitive. He'll still be able to get top 10s, but when you need that extra speed for the extra push at the end of the race that Logano normally has, I doubt that he's going to have that. I don't think he can win this race. He can still get a top 5 and be fine in DFS.
I mean, Geoff, you know this. He's a 2015 winner here.
No, but seriously, this guy's a bit of a dope. Like they knew that they had the parts shortage, and I'm being semi-serious here. He knew he had a parts shortage. He's in this dual rate. I don't know what it was last night, and then he crashed on like the last lap, knowing that his team had the parts shortage. This guy also blew the race last year. He's the one who caused the accident on the final lap with his teammate. This guy is a complete fade. I mean, I know what I said about Denny Hamlin. I'd much rather bet Denny Hamlin than Joey Logano. I mean, I don't understand what's going on with this guy. This guy has absolutely no restraint. He should not be behind the wheel of a car at any point. Plus 1,200? No, man. This guy, you're out on this one.
Yeah, and Pierce, he has 4 DNFs in the past 6 super speedway races here, too. So he's
unbelievable.
I know, right? Wow. It sounds like you really hate every driver out there, Geoff. Well, tonight, Pierce, we got a truck race. A lot of these, we can see a lot of wrecks, right? When it comes to truck races, a lot of twisted metal. So
Yeah,
in terms of the sports book, I'm going to start with Pierce here. You be quiet over there. Pierce, like, do you chase a long shot in this truck race? Like, what do you do? What's your approach tonight?
Absolutely. I mean, in reality, all these truck drivers are long shots in real life of making it up the ladder of the NASCAR circuit, and they drive like that as well. I mean, we already had 2 wrecks in practice. I would bet that we probably have 10 trucks that finish this race on the lead lap.
Oh my
If that's
God.
the case, then you take some of these long shots. Just go to the bottom of the board. Jesse Little at plus 20,000. This is a mistake. He's running for Randy Young's Motorsports. Young Motorsports has won 2 of the last 3 Talladega races. Take Little. Lawless Allen. Yeah, that's a real name. It kind of fits in here with NASCAR. 10,000. He's in a niche truck. Niche trucks haven't been that great over the last couple of years, but they'll be competitive. Timmy Hill at plus 10,000. This truck finished second at Talladega with his brother driving last season. And then last on my list, Spencer Boyd, 10,000, also for Young Motorsports. He won at Talladega in 2019. Just go to the bottom of the board, take some of these long shots, hope for wrecks. You don't have to hope. They will happen. Don't be surprised to see one of these big shots go through.
Geoff, you drive a Subaru. What do you think about this truck race tonight?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I know who any of these guys are, but I do have a question for Pierce. What about the juicy middle, Pierce? We've got a lot of guys at like plus 4,000, plus 6,000. I know you like the long shots, but like Colby Howard do anything for you here? He says plus 4,000. Like, give us someone there, man, because I don't know who these guys are.
Well, so the difference between picking those guys is saying, all right, well, if one of them avoids the wreck, the equipment and the skill, there's no difference. So if it's just one of them is going to avoid the wrecks and one's not, then that's just going to be pretty random and pretty lucky. So I just rather would take the long shot in that case.
All right. Okay, fine.
All right, Pierce, what do you do then for the Xfinity race? So I see Allmendinger is plus 850 to win there.
You just got to kind of dial this one back a little bit because at the end of this race, typically you're going to need speed. Whereas in the truck race, you can get a push and some of these inferior equipment, inferior drivers can actually fluke themselves into a win. The Xfinity, there's going to be wrecks, there's going to be chaos, but there's going to be a handful of decent cars still left at the end. And so you kind of got to dial down your wild shots. But Landon Castle is underpriced at plus 2,000. He's been, a weak driver for most of his career because he's been in poor equipment, but now he is in the best car he's ever been in. And that Colleague racing car, well, Colleague builds the best plate track cars. They have Justin Haley won 4 times at a plate track in this car. AJ Allmendinger's got a handful of top 5s in a Colleague car. Ross Chastain has 2 plate track wins in a Colleague car. Now you got Landon Castle at plus 2,000. Mike Snyder at plus 2,500 is another good play. He's driving for Jordan Anderson. Jordan Anderson in the truck series has back-to-back second-place finishes, got a top 5 at Talladega in the Xfinity Series last season. Mike Snyder got 2 top 10s at Daytona last season. And then the last guy we'd look at is Austin Hill. Austin Hill is a former 2019 Daytona Truck Series winner. He'll be in solid RCR equipment. Those are the guys that I would go with, kind of like what Geoff was alluding to before, kind of go in the middle in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, Geoff, last year's Beef, it's What's for Dinner 300 winner is not even in this field.
I mean, beef is always for dinner at my house. And my kid, I just want to, before we get up there, we studied the Xfinity cars, and she came up with a fantastic drawing of what these Xfinity cars can potentially do. So, I mean, for our money, we like Brett Moffitt at plus 1,800. I think he's undervalued for the simple fact that my daughter was extremely drawn to the colors on his car. And, Pierce has said that this is the range to go on. So I'm going to follow Pierce. We're going to take some Brett Moffitt shares and move on.
It's kind of like how my wife has won office pools for March Madness multiple times, just going off of like cute mascots and definitely color schemes. We'll get you guys out of here with this. This has been a tremendous segment. Just give me your pick to win the Daytona 500, Pierce.
I'll go with Brad Keselowski.
Okay. Love it. Love the analysis there. Geoff.
It's okay. I'll save this segment. Chase Elliott at plus 1,100, second last year, despite starting 12th. He's up to 5th this year. He's finished 8th or better in 3 starts at Daytona with 2 runners up. He drives a reliable, but not a flashy car in a Chevrolet. And if you want a dual forecast bet, you take Chase Elliott, Bubba Wallace, 1-2, plus 55 on the DraftKings Sportsbook. Bubba Wallace, also a great top 5 bet. He's finished top 5 a billion times here. He just had one of his best performances ever at the Daytona 500. Take him plus 220 to finish top 5. That's Bubba Wallace. Those are my 2 bets for Daytona here, folks. Chase Elliott.
Pierce.
I replace Pierce next week in the truck segment.
Pierce, you have some really good articles too, by the way, on DK Nation. You got a lot of other stuff there to help people out, help
I have
people
other
navigate.
stuff too. More.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice prototype he's got there. There's a truck article at DK Nation. There is an Xfinity article at DK Nation. There is a bets article, and there will be a cup article later on this weekend.
Okay, awesome. If you do not start producing incredible artwork like this to back up your picks for whatever series we're talking about, we may have to let you go, Pierce.
Yeah, that is quite a hot rod.
Oh, man, what an amazing show today. We started off with you two. We ended it with you two because you two were fantastic. Geoff, way to really carry this show today. Now, if you could only come in here and fix the volume on this television, everything would have been smooth from start to finish. Love you guys. Great work. Madden Sims start at high noon. Kaufman and Lamarca will have you for a 5 o'clock edition of the slate today. We're off this weekend. And we will see everyone back here Monday morning at 11 o'clock. Enjoy the Daytona 500. Get inside that Millie Maker.